All right, as promised, I am starting my Main Street Stories series. And this story is about the time the local Republican Party ran a slate of candidates with the intention of firing my husband, the city manager. And look, y'all, my husband's been a city manager for 19 years. He literally went to school, has 3 degrees, advanced degrees, professional development, continuing education, and we know that election season gets spicy sometimes. And every month, really, a city manager, even a special called meeting, you just need 3 votes. And then you could be terminated. Which is why the majority of city managers, or those that are worth any kind of salt, have employment contracts. And most of y'all should know I, as a licensed attorney, particularly one that worked in the area of employment law, would not move our family or make any type of major investment in a community as my husband as a city manager without an employment contract. But thankfully, the city that my husband worked at, they already had employment contracts as a regular practice with their city managers. It should be noted, though, this city used to go through city managers like underwear, okay? I mean, it was a revolving door around here. So anyone with half a brain or an iota of sense would require an employment contract, unless they were just sorry and happy to have what they could get. So my husband had an employment contract that was signed in 2018, and that's the same contract that he's had for the entire 7 years that he worked here. And I'd also like to note that my husband was the longest consecutive serving city manager in this city's known history. He worked for multiple mayors and multiple council members without any problem. Received high marks in all of his evaluations from the members of city council. But anyways, the GOP runs this slate of city council members, and the city elections are nonpartisan, but of course there's always the risk of partisan money being in elections, because there's always groups that will not be interested in serving the entire community, but rather their own individual interests, grudges, retaliatory practices, things of that nature. And there are a difference of opinions on priorities and strategic planning, which also have to be considered anytime the electorate comes to vote. A lot of things go into those decisions in the voting booth. I believe in the democratic process. I myself, as a political scientist and a licensed attorney, believe in free and fair elections, and the electorate decided to elect the tax team. Now, between you and me, I don't know if the tax team, well, I'm not going to say it. No, I am going to say it. I'm fairly certain the tax team was made up of a gaggle of simpletons. Now listen, there is nothing more intoxicating to a mediocre man and a simple brain than a few followers and some traction on social media. And a couple of these tax teamers started to build some momentum. And one in particular got real bold on his socials. And while there are so many subplots and little anecdotes and characters that we're going to talk about, right, on this series, the Main Street Stories series, one in particular is really something else. So look, because we are no stranger to an election season, typically during election season, we usually go, my husband and I, we go dark on our socials. It's about all I can do to not jump through the comment section on some of the stupidity that you read out here in the misinformation. But for the most part, we just stay out of it. We're unaffiliated in terms of our voter registration. You won't see a sign in our yard. I mean, we stay out of the fray. So we had a couple hot ticket items, which we will be discussing in our series here, that blew up about August. So because of that, we were really staying low and just trying to keep it all neutral as possible. But there was a lot of misinformation being spread by multiple camps. I mean, we had like 17 people running for city council, and like half of them were on the tax team, the other couple of tax team were on the big five, and then there were some rogue people, and just it was a lot. It was very intense. But again, my husband's job is to serve all the people through the strategic plan and direction of the city council. So he got a call from one of the tax team members. And the premise of that call was an invitation for him to go to the tax team members' restaurant, have lunch, and talk about some questions that the tax team member had. So my husband, being the person that he is, goes to the Suckleburger and eats his dry cheeseburger and answers all of the questions. Now, this candidate had some wild ideas about closing the city library, closing the Parks and Rec department, making the county pay more of the Parks and Rec, which, spoiler alert, they've been trying to do for years, and to no avail. But you know, he was going to get them straight. He was going to get everybody straight, the county straight, the city straight. He was going to do all these big things because he's a big businessman. He's got a burger franchise, or not franchise, I don't know. But he's a businessman. Well, some of his ideas, my husband discussed, there's 3 feasibilities: technical feasibility, economic feasibility, and political feasibility. And removing the library and reducing the Parks and Rec services was likely not going to be achieved through a political feasibility, although economically that would be very feasible and somewhat advantageous. But you see, the people around here in Washington, they love their senior center, they love their Parks and Rec, and they love their library, as they should. We like nice things. We live in a nice area. They go hand in hand. So my husband answers the questions. He's polite about the dry cheeseburger and goes on his merry little day. In fact, when he came home that evening, I asked him, hey, how did it go? Did what was he like? What were some of his ideas? And my husband had nothing but positive things to say. He's a business owner, he has a family, he could bring a very interesting perspective, and it's always good to have people that, have a young family and are in tune to the services that we need in a city for young families. Because we're a young family. Well, youngish, sort of young.